Kathy and Jim Gott are the proud parents of six children. Two of their adult sons are thriving with autism. They are passionate advocates in their community, working to protect and strengthen disability services. Besides being a dedicated caregiver, Kathy is the co-founder and president of Education Spectrum, and she serves as commissioner of the Los Angeles County Commission of Disabilities. Jim is a former Major League Baseball pitcher who spent part of his pitching career with both the San Francisco Giants and the Los Angeles Dodgers. He is currently the pitching coach for the Stockton Ports, an affiliate of the athletics organization. Together, Jim and Kathy work tirelessly to raise awareness and acceptance for those with developmental disabilities. Please welcome Kathy and Jim Gott.
Hi, good
Hey,
morning.
morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the nice introduction. Great to be here. So Jim and I are going to share our journey with you. We're going to do it in three parts. We're going to talk about our early years, and then we're going to talk about the middle years of raising our children, and then we're going to talk a little bit about our lives with adult children on the spectrum and all the others. So our hope today is that everyone listening will congratulate yourselves. And being here today is such an important part to be a part of a community and to learn and to be open because there is certainly no way you could do this alone. So thank you for creating this wonderful environment. So we're just going to dive right in and share with you that we were married in 1990 and I was 27 years old. We met and married in 3 months. It was quite the whirlwind. This very handsome Dodger pitcher was pursuing me. It was very exciting, and he proposed to me on the pitcher's mound, and it was, all fairy tales galore. It was really exciting. By 1991, Jim had already come with four young children, all 5 and under. And they came to visit us for the summer and they stayed for 3 months. And of course, Jim was off playing ball and I was home with all these kids. So it was quite the transition, needless to say.
We can laugh about that now.
Yeah, we have to have a sense of humor. And CJ's mom had asked if we could keep CJ with us and help him get the help he needed. We didn't even know what the diagnosis was yet at the time. And interestingly, the diagnosis, it took almost a year to get the diagnosis. And eventually, CJ was diagnosed with PDDNOS, which one of those categories that is now all under the autism spectrum umbrella. And, at that time, there were 2.5 cases per thousand, or 0.25% of kids getting diagnosed with autism. Quite the difference today, of course. So then in 1993, our son Danny was born. That was our first son. And then our second, Nick, was born in 1995. And also in 1995, Danny was diagnosed with autism. So, those early years of marriage, and we're just going to be open and transparent, and we're not trying to create some kind of pretty picture here because we had a lot of bumps in the road. I was exhausted, full of anxiety. I was super sad, completely overwhelmed. I just, it was really, really hard to be home and handling this. And, the pressure on the wives of the ball players was intense because everybody's job as a wife was to keep everything smooth, running smoothly, so that your husbands could go out and perform and not be distracted by any problems at home, God forbid. So it was a pretty tall order, and I'm just going to turn it over to Jim so he can provide his perspective on the early years.
So how unrealistic, right? To think that I could go ahead and just live my life as a ball player and have this functioning family around me and, wake up when I needed to, head to the ballpark, spend most of my day there, going on road trips. I remember calling Kathy from New York one time and going, "Oh my God, I'm in Times Square and I'm having a great time." And she said, "I just went to Mommy and Me and CJ, my oldest son that was just being diagnosed, had sputtered out of Mommy and Me and they had to leave early because things weren't going well." So I was living in a very unrealistic world at that time. And the first story that I'd love to share with everybody is that, I always wanted to have kids. I got married early, had four kids really quickly. My marriage fizzled out. I was playing with the Pirates at the time, had an injury, and now coming back from the injury, I'm getting a divorce. The one thing that really saved me was that I got an opportunity of coming back and playing with the Dodgers. I was traded over here and I was able to come back home to play for my hometown team. I grew up in Pasadena, and to play for the Dodgers was a huge thrill for me and a dream come true. That first year was really tough coming back from my injury and then getting an opportunity of meeting Kathy really changed my life. I met this beautiful girl, and from between August and the end of the season, we dated, and then we got married right when the season ended. My very first year that Kathy and I were married, 1991, the one thing that we all loved to do is we had a family game every year with every team that I was ever with, and it was right in the middle of the season before the families all left for school, wherever those guys were from. And so family game was, we're all prepared. We're getting ready to go to it. Kathy's got her mom with us. We've got my four kids. We had a cousin that was there to help us. Again, CJ was just in the process of being diagnosed. We get to the ballpark, so excited. The kids have got their little uniforms on. The people there, the ballpark were helping us to go to where we needed to go to. They ushered us into a locker room that is underneath the stands of the stadium. Right when you get there, Dodger balloons and everything is right there. And there's a cake right there that says, "Welcome, Dodger families." We walk in, we check in, we go over to our little locker, we set everything up, and then we head out to the field. And right when we get out to the field, they time it so it's at the same time when the stadium is opening up and the fans are all filing in. So the fans are coming into the ballpark. We're all excited to be able to have our kids out there. Every one of the guys, other than me, had kids that were, doing unbelievable things. They were hitting balls and catching things when they're 2 and 3 years old. And, I was just trying to corral my kids and make sure everybody was safe and ready to go. And as it happened, we ended up losing CJ right within that first 10 minutes of being out there on the field with the fans again still there. CJ is gone. We hear from Kathy's mom says, "Where's CJ?" Our cousin says, "Where's CJ?" Kathy says, "Where's CJ?" My daughter, who was 5 years old at the time, "Where's CJ?" So we started panicking, immediately getting a hold of the security at the ballpark, letting them know that needs to be an all points bulletin out for this young boy who's, just 4 years old at the time. And so everybody's looking for him. I all of a sudden start thinking maybe I should go back underneath the stadium towards the locker rooms and all of that to see if I can find him. I'm talking to everybody on the way. I walk all the way to the locker room that we were at. And as the first sign of I'm in the right area was that beautiful cake that said, "Welcome, Dodger family." CJ had put his hand in the middle of it and took it with him, and I followed the crumb cakes and went into where the locker room was. CJ was sitting on the floor in our locker with cake all over his face. So that's my first story of finding out CJ had some issues, having to deal with it on my own, not just Kathy doing it by herself.
Well,
Thank you.
that's a good summation of the chaos and everything else and that ensued in those early years. So we'll move on to part two. Just a brief
Gets better.
overview. It keeps getting better for sure. So he retired, Jim, in 95. So that was a big game changer because we were home together. It was just such a huge sort of a relief for me at that point. I mean, it was all fun and exciting, but reality, it was too hard by myself. So what I found so incredibly comforting and helpful was to just dive into the community. We hosted functions for the Autism Society at our home. We had swim lessons. We just went to every event we could think of and conferences and just learning, learned about regional center services and accessing all kinds of different services and programs. I started a Center for Autism, and we teach social skills and just being around people with this, being in the same situation, being able to talk to other parents. That was extremely helpful and comforting for us, and still is. So absolutely. We had, this big team of doctors and therapists just surrounding us, and this team building really became a cornerstone that anchored us and made our lives more manageable. So Jim can talk about your evolution during that time.
It was an evolution. Oh my God. I'm so glad that I'm on here also just to be able to talk from a father's perspective. Again, I had always imagined that my kids were going to be in the big leagues, just like other guys that I played with, their kids are in the big leagues. And, that wasn't what my reality was. And being able to start living in reality took a long time for me. I finished my career. I had an injury that ended my career, so I was very sad about that. I got back into the civilian life, and the civilian life for us was that I wasn't leaving for 8 months out of the year or sequestered out of my life for 8 months out of the year. Now I was participating in life 24/7, 12 months, and that's where we were. It really took me a long time to come out of my fantasy world of there was going to be a magic pill to help CJ and Danny. There was going to be some therapy that was going to cure them. Autism was such a big name for me. I didn't realize how in depth this was and just thought it was going to pass by. Once I realized that it wasn't going to be that way, I had to go through the grieving process also and understanding how tough this was. And the support that I got was from the dads. I got an opportunity of talking to a lot of dads and sharing those days at the VIP Little League or the VIP soccer that we were doing. And all of a sudden sharing the fact that, I couldn't talk for 5 minutes straight because I had to make sure I knew where CJ and Danny were because CJ was a runner and Danny just stayed still. So I had two opposites with both of the kids. And I think that the big transition for me was just coming into reality, realizing that I was part of this team, realizing that Danny and CJ were their own individuals, and I was there to support them in their young years. But it was important for me to back off and let them be who they were and let the world accept them for who they were and are.
Very nice. And that beauty and that joy that comes with accepting your circumstances and embracing that. We really do enjoy these beautiful kids, and we really do rely on our sense of humor for sure. So I'm going to move to part 3. And navigating the transition to adulthood was not easy. It was a process, but all the work that went into it and things that you're going to hear in this, all the topics, they're so relevant and so pertinent, and it's just such a pleasure to be a part of this. And all the knowledge I gained learning from others and meeting parents along the way and seeing what their adult children, what their living circumstances were, what their supports look like. And it really gave me a roadmap to understand what services are available through the regional center. At the time, it was supported living services. Now it's self-determination. It's just transformative for our family. And just all the post-high school vocational programs, everything else, social, emotional support, everything, transportation, SSI, IHSS, all these acronyms. I mean, it's a lot to navigate, but if I can do it, anyone could do it. You just be open to learning. And obviously everyone here is, because you're all here today. Um, so I just wanted to say something that really is important to me, and it's the definition of independence, because, I always see things that say, the journey to independence, the road to independence. And um, for me, that means something very specific. And what that means is that Danny will be able to be independent of me. It doesn't mean that he's going to live this independent life, because he needs to depend on a lot of different supports and services that prop him up in and so that he can live his very best life. So I do this exercise, and I just wanted to share it with you, is to think about, I'm not in the picture, I'm out of it. So, I'll picture Danny's face and then put little rays of sunshine, leading to his life coach, his nutritionist, his emotional, social well-being, his friendships, his just what does it take to build this big team? I'm not a therapist, I'm not a chauffeur. I'm certainly not a behavior specialist, I'm not a financial planner or public benefit expert or, job coach, any of these things. But there are people in these roles to support Danny so that I can focus on my favorite role, which is to be mom. That's it. So if that's something that is helpful, I just wanted to point that out, and I'm going to turn it back over to Jim for some closing remarks.
So probably the most important thing that I want to share as a dad is that this is a rich life. There is so much joy in our lives. And we've been able to see wonderful things and experience incredible things, especially during my baseball career, that everybody would want to enjoy. And it's like bringing up Danny and experiencing life with Danny and CJ doesn't even come, the baseball doesn't even come close to that. Anything that I've ever experienced before doesn't come close to that. And it really took me being an acceptance of what and who Danny and CJ are and what support systems they do have. Being able to have Kathy that is leading the team and being able to do just what she's saying about being able to prepare Danny for life after high school and the transitions all the way through, and being able to have those people in places have made our life so rich. And the last experience I want to share with everybody is just I got back into coaching right when Danny was graduating from high school. And it was really important for me, for my soul, to get back into what I do and what I love to do, and mentoring young men getting ready to hopefully make their way to the big leagues. And being able to share that with Danny has been incredible. There's been every team that I've been with. I was with the Angels, and we had a player director that had a special needs daughter, and he knew how important it was for Danny to be part of everything. So Danny got a uniform one year and was able to come out and speak to all of the minor league players, 100 and almost 200 players. And Danny was out there giving his speech. And it was really cool. And it was just like a firing up. You guys are great. And, it just, but the experience has been incredible. And I've had that with every team that I've been with. We were up in the big leagues with the Phillies, and Danny being able to experience that. Now I'm with the A's. 3 years ago, I was down in the Dominican Republic, and beautiful Kathy and the family came with me. We lived down there for 6 months. Danny was our bat boy. And Danny didn't speak any Spanish. Danny had no idea. I mean, but you know what? Once I just backed off and Danny was with me, we got the approval to have him there as our bat boy. Danny thrived. Oh my gosh, not only learning Spanish, but Danny became friends with 30 new brothers. And it was an incredible experience for Danny, and being able to, I mean, I talk to these guys now. One of our guys just made it to the big leagues, Luis Morales, and every time he talks to me, he's asking, how's Danny? And it's really a wonderful thing. And so each team that I've been with, I'm with the Stockton A's now. Danny came up and was the bat boy for us when we were playing the Rancho Cucamonga Dodgers. And then he was up when we were up in Stockton when we were playing Lake Elsinore, and Danny was there. And just the experiences that the kids have with Danny being there, I see their joy with just having somebody so innocent and so excited about life and experiencing life and it really gives us all a wonderful perspective of how easy life can be. And it wasn't until I was in acceptance of that, didn't have crazy expectations, really having no expectations, just being able to let Danny be who he is. And it's been really wonderful. It's made my life incredibly rich.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy and Jim. That was wonderful. There's so much about your journey as parents that I have no doubt so many of us can relate to. You've demonstrated the power of staying informed, being involved, and never giving up on creating a world of acceptance, inclusion, and opportunity. So thank you so much.